Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back to another weekend edition of the PondCast, your weekly talk show, your weekly wrap-up show here of all things StarCraft. I'm of course VIP with you. I'm joined by these amazing, by our producer, by Kura, of course, producing behind the scenes, and of course by all the people in the chat as well. Welcome, one and all, to again our weekly wrap-up show. We do have a lot to get into when it comes to tournament results and also some news as well. First things first, as of course is the second broadcast of the day. We were live earlier this morning with the Nature Total Tussle. Now we're here with the PondCast. First up, we do have the Esports Awards. We did actually have some people in the StarCraft scene gaining some awards here. It was Artosis and Tasteless. Tastosis, they did receive the 2025 Lifetime Achievement Award in Esports. Does make sense, they've been around since almost the beginning of the inception of esports, and Tastosis, without them, StarCraft wouldn't be, I'm sure StarCraft would be worse off, and every other esport would be worse off as well. So they have been around for a long time, and definitely worth kind of commending that, worth giving respect to that, and congratulations to Artosis and Tasteless for receiving said award. Fun fact, this event, Esports Awards, actually coincided with the RSL playoffs. So if you're curious why Tasteless was barely in the RSL playoffs, I think only in the last day or the last 2 days is because he was in the Americas, right? He was in Vegas receiving these awards. That's why he wasn't around for the first couple of days of the playoffs. So it's a little bit unfortunate that that because of the awards, Tasteless didn't really get to cast much Revival StarCraft League, even though it's his event. It's definitely unfortunate that occurred, that did overlap. But regardless, congratulations to Artosis and Tasteless. Personally, I'm not too sure how big the esports awards are nowadays. I do know that when they first released, it was there was a little bit less a little bit less hype, or I say hype, really a little bit less even respect around it. But I think over time, they've been able to tighten things up and have been more relevant and have had a little bit more prestige, I should say. So congratulations to both Artosis and Tasteless. Again, they've been around for a long time. They're still in StarCraft as well, in their own ways, right? Like Artosis, of course, leaving Korea and now spending a lot of time with Brood War, streaming a lot, playing a lot. We're in a really weird kind of state in StarCraft where, I think I said this during EWC and I stand by it, where Tasteless is actually more ingrained and is a little bit more knowledgeable about StarCraft II than Artosis, which feels a little bit weird to say because for a long time it was the opposite. For a long time, Artosis was the more analytical caster, and Tasteless was the more flavor caster or color caster. There we go. That's kind of the role that they had. But if you listen to our co-stream of EWC, Tasteless, he was making a lot more correct calls and a lot more in-depth analysis than Artosis was. But that's just because Artosis is less ingrained in StarCraft 2 at the moment. Again, has been devoting a lot more time to Brood War this past year. But regardless, he still, was a part of EWC and still is a part of some of these major events, and still does, of course, have love for StarCraft 2. Regardless, GG. GG well played. Shout out to both Artosis and Tasteless for receiving said award. And I feel like this is actually going to come into play in regards to the first interview that we had as well. I'm a little bit surprised. I assumed that we were done with the interviews. For those that are curious, Zombergub, she has been working on her crowdfunded documentary series regarding StarCraft 2 and the rise and the history of StarCraft, Brood War, and StarCraft 2 alongside it. And it's been a couple of months. It's been a couple of months since we last had an interview regarding this. And it's been 2 months, actually. And we just got a fresh interview a couple of days ago with Soso. And I was a little bit surprised. Basically, up until this point, all these interviews have been in person. Zombergub, she flew to Korea, she flew to Europe, she was there at Home Story Cup, she was in South Korea, and because of that, she was able to get a bunch of in-person interviews. And I had made the assumption that a lot of these, that the documentary series and all the interviews involved would be specifically, in-person, back and forth dialogues. But that is now no longer the case. Now Zombergub, she's no longer kind of constraining herself to these offline interviews, and she did have an online video call with Soso, who was one of the OGs, who was one of the best players in the world in StarCraft 1. Not even Brood War, StarCraft 1. So I feel like this opens the door a little bit. This opens the door in the sense that if she wasn't able to get an interview with someone offline, it looks like she's willing to get into a video call and record something online instead through Discord. So yeah, this does kind of mark the first of these online video calls, and it means that if she didn't get an interview with someone, if she wants to record another interview as well, like she's not going to limit herself to only offline interviews, which I think is a good thing. Which means there's a very high chance that we're going to get more interviews, that we're going to get a lot more to come, which is a good thing for sure. Which is a good thing. I do feel like there are some places that are missing here and there. It was a very long interview, 2 hours, 2 hours long. Um, Before we get into the content of it, off the bat, I do wish that we did have this lengthy of an interview with some of the other people, with some of the other interviewees. We did express our again disappointment when it came to some of the Korean interviews. Some of the Korean interviews were really short. Part of it is the language barrier, but still, like, it did feel like we didn't really have as many leading questions or as many follow-up questions, and they were a little bit more concise. And I feel like there was a story to tell, especially for a lot of the Korean players when it comes to their upbringing, when it comes to them stepping into StarCraft for the first time, them talking about certain events, certain eras of StarCraft as well, even more modern eras of StarCraft. So this was a great interview, don't get me wrong, but it also felt like I wish we were this in depth with some of the other interviews as well. Partly also because the person being interviewed, the interviewee, so like some of the other interviewers or interviewees, did have a lot to say. He had a lot to say. He was very open. Zonrigo would ask one thing and he would go on a massive, story. He'd tell his tale, about this era of StarCraft back in the day, in the beginning of everything. For those that are curious, for those who are maybe only familiar with StarCraft 2, like me, I didn't really know who Soso was, but apparently he grew up, in the 90s and the 80s, playing a lot of PC games, playing Warcraft 2, playing Warcraft 3, playing Command and Conquer, the original game as well. He spoke about how, like, he and his group of friends, they were really into gaming at the time. Even before the internet, they created their own, like, quote unquote, like, online way of connecting to each other and playing quote unquote LAN online, like peer to peer. And they did their own, like, custom way of doing that, and they were able to, like, play together. And they kind of stumbled upon StarCraft 1 because they were into Warcraft 2 and they were competing a lot in Warcraft 2 and playing a lot in Warcraft 2. They were big fans of Blizzard, of course. As a result, when StarCraft was released, they all, like, hopped onto that as well. And it was really fascinating to hear, this tale from the very beginning of things. I think they were even talking about, like, Doom and how they were also competing and playing a lot in FPSs. I think Soso said that he was, like, one of the best Warcraft 2 players, and he was friends and colleagues with, like, some of the other top Warcraft 2 players as well, and how they transferred that over to StarCraft 1, and they were also some of the best there. Soso spoke about his rivalry with with Guillaume. How Gur, of course, got a lot more notoriety, but he himself was also invited to a lot of show matches. Technically, Soso was the first StarCraft World Champion. 100%. He was straight the very first StarCraft World Champion. So Soso was able to claim that title. He got that rivalry with Gur as well, and it's also kind of weird because his story is a little bit short-lived. He spoke about how they were really into StarCraft 1, but by the time Brood War came around, Soso, I believe that was the time where he started working on content creation. I think he was making articles, making battle reports, like, he was casting. Technically, Soso, I believe, was the first official English caster. Even before Tasteless, even before Artosis, like, Soso, he was casting. So that's kind of like the role that he took early on. And even then, it was a little bit short-lived because after a time, he was quite young at the time, and he did decide to focus on his studies, focus on going to university, and focus on continuing his life and career elsewhere. But, like, that's his foundation was still in StarCraft 1, and it's still something that he follows nowadays with Brood War. And he does watch more modern Brood War as well, following Flash, following these other players. He tells his own tale, his own stories about meeting Boxer and how Boxer was, like, a fan of him even as well, and going to Korea and having these interactions, how he met Yellow and all these other guys. And it was really fascinating, and yeah, he has definitely a lot to tell from back in the day. He was talking about, like, how they would practice back in the day, the old school rivalries as well, how they didn't really think things would grow as much as they did. At the time, they were just, playing for the love of the game more than, like, money or esports or anything like that, because that wasn't really much of a thing. Apparently, he was talking about how he got some quote-unquote televised games where there are some games that he played that are available in VHS in Korea. They were released in VHS form. They're out there somewhere when it comes to some of the times where he competed, and yeah, it was really cool. It was really engrossing as well, like the way that he was, able to portray his time in StarCraft and again his upbringing. But one thing that, as I mentioned, it was a little bit more of a shorter tale, just because again it was very StarCraft One focus, and then he got a little bit more into Brood War. It was interesting to hear him talk about StarCraft One, about how they figured out things like Prism Micro, or like Scourge Muta interactions, or certain timings, the math behind certain upgrades and certain unit interactions, and how back in the day, like in the very beginning, of course, that wasn't really figured out, but that's like what they were working on. That's what they were trying to slowly figure out themselves as well. For those who are curious, he was a random player. He was a pro random player. He played all three races. And he might not have been a pure specialist, but like he was solid in his own way, and yeah, it was fascinating to hear this side of the story, especially as someone who didn't really follow the beginning esports era of Brood War and StarCraft One. Like, it was fascinating to hear that kind of era and how things like translated over time. There's definitely a lot of hope as well. What I mean by that, one, he's very much so ingrained in gaming and ingrained in the scene. He has his own history with Tasteless and Artosis and Gur, of course, as well. But he spoke about how, like, a lot of his friends moved on to greater things. Like, they started in StarCraft. I think one of his friends is like a co-founder of chess.com. Others moved on to develop and work on Warcraft 3, for example, like the original Warcraft 3, StarCraft 2 as well. And apparently he kind of dropped a tease that I wasn't really familiar with, outside of Nexon receiving getting permission and getting the IP to release their own StarCraft game. But he was alluding to the fact that apparently there's another StarCraft IP Blizzard game that's in the works. And he said they couldn't really talk much about it, but he dropped that, like, he knows people that are working on a project that isn't necessarily an RTS for StarCraft, but it's like, it is still using the StarCraft IP, and there's a lot of, and he said to look forward to what's coming. He spoke about how, like, in recent times, Microsoft, of course, has been paying a little more attention to StarCraft. We spoke about that ourselves, how it bodes well. He knows so many people that got back into Hearthstone when Hearthstone released the StarCraft, like, campaign, like the StarCraft, like, crossover event, and how that got a lot of interest, and how, like, he feels like there's still, like, a lot of hype and a lot of love for StarCraft. It's just, something has to be done with the IP, and there's something that needs to give Microsoft the confidence to actually push a game through and do something with the IP. And again, we've been talking about this a lot over the past couple of weeks about, positive things on the horizon when it comes to the patches that have been released for StarCraft, when it comes to the communication and things moving forward, and how so far things are actually looking positive, things are looking up. And it does feel, for the most part, it's because of Microsoft, because they've stepped in, they've acquired Blizzard, they've finally, like, gotten their people involved, they're finally, getting a better like hold on the games that are being worked on themselves, and are starting to have their influence in them as well. And it does look like a positive take. Part of it is also, the cushion that is Microsoft. Activision Blizzard, I think an issue that they had was that they were very, very heavily reliant on monetization, and of course making money for the shareholders and being profitable as much as possible. And because of that, like, if a game wasn't necessarily doing as well, or wasn't making wasn't kind of meeting quotas that they otherwise should, that then they would lose support, right? And they would hyperfixate on loot boxes in Overwatch, or Blizzard expansions, and releasing them on a more regular basis, even at the cost of, like, the story or the cost of the quality, for example. But now that a bigger company has acquired them, a bigger company that has more capital and has a lot more resources to invest and to fall back on, like, now they can, I would imagine they feel like they can take more chances and more risks, and it isn't as important for them to be, like, hyper, like, monetization focused, and they can spread their wings a little bit more, and they can actually, focus on creating games. So that's the impression that I'm getting, at least. So again, it definitely bodes well, and it was interesting to hear that Soso has some insider information regarding it as well. Obviously, didn't really talk too much about it, and again, I should quickly cut off any kind of rumors that say, like, oh, does this mean StarCraft 3? No. As I mentioned, like, I believe it is not an RTS. It's just something that's being done with the StarCraft IP, not just including the next on, like, Korean game that's being made. That's its own thing. He was talking about another kind of project that's in the works. So yeah, definitely something to look forward to. Like he spoke about how like he believes that there are a lot of good people out there that are working and that could potentially bring StarCraft 3 to the forefront, and it's something he will eventually look forward to. But once again, like a lot of it comes down to the will to make a StarCraft 3. It's something that motivates and gives confidence to Microsoft to be able to push forward and actually try to bring something like that to the forefront. And that's something that maybe we can look forward to in the future. Like when I say the future, though, I mean like I don't know, like 5 years from now, for example, depending on how these other StarCraft games, how they unfold and how successful they are. The StarCraft miniatures game is a part of that. That's why we were actually talking a lot about this over the past couple of weeks in relation to the StarCraft miniatures game and like the good relationship that they have with Blizzard, and their back and forth that they've had as well. So yeah, definitely worth listening to when it comes to the interview. I was a little bit vague about some of the details, but again, he does have quite a story to tell, and it's very engrossing and very entertaining and very heartfelt as well. Like he even broke down for a moment. Like he spoke about how it was a difficult decision to make to step away from StarCraft when he did, but he was quite young, and like his family was depending on him to to go and do his studies and to achieve greater accolades, and it was definitely something that he took seriously, and like his mother passed away at the time as well. Like there was definitely a lot of emotion going on at the time, and yeah, very heartfelt, and yeah, it was great to hear from someone that was around from the beginning that still is involved in gaming in some way, and StarCraft in some way, and is still very passionate about StarCraft. Maybe less so StarCraft 2. He did mention how he played. I think he played in the beta, but he was never really too involved at the time in his life. Like he had already moved on, right, to other aspects, to his IRL career. But yeah, definitely worth checking out, and it's very in depth as well. Very in depth. Do recommend it. And as I mentioned before, like the fact that Zommergo was willing to have this, this VoIP interview, right, this kind of like video call interview does open the door for other interviews as well. If Zommergo missed someone offline, then maybe she drags on Valdez. Maybe she reaches out. I think Soso even recommended. I think Soso mentioned some of his friends from back in the day that were some of the best players of their respective races who moved on to greater things, like to interview as well, to kind of bring together. He spoke about his like he's best friends with Gur, and how they still contact each other and they still interact as well. So yeah, definitely more to come. For me personally, I thought we were done with the interviews, and I thought the documentary series was already being like edited together. But it looks like Zomergub is still adding more to her collection now. Is adding more to kind of like the interview series, and is filling in those gaps of telling the story that is StarCraft. So do look forward to it. Zomergub interview with White Light when. I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I think we're a little bit too modern for her tastes. We criticized some of like the direction of the interviews and the questions before, but it does feel like a lot of her questions and a lot of the interview is focused a lot more on early SE2 and Brood War and StarCraft 1. And even when the discussion does come into more modern StarCraft 2, it's very light on that. Like she often does not delve into that, unfortunately. That has been one of our criticisms. Even when she has interviewed some players that are still active in the current StarCraft scene and still have their own achievements in the current modern StarCraft era, she has been avoiding asking those questions. So I don't think that's really the main focus of the documentary series. Unfortunately, I do feel like there's value there. I do feel like it's worth discussing. I think we mentioned at the time that it's better to get that while you can, sort of thing, because even if the focus is meant to be more early days of StarCraft, the reality is StarCraft is still going on, and it's better to just have that footage and have that content now, because maybe you want to do something with that later. If you have someone that you're interviewing at the time, take advantage of that. Aprovecha, right? Take advantage of that. Take that opportunity and delve a little bit more deeper into how things are now. But the reality is that that's just not been where the focus lies, unfortunately. So yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. Which is fine, which is perfectly fine. But otherwise, that does lead us into our next question. Curious to hear the meta difference between StarCraft 1 and StarCraft Brood War. True. They did speak on that briefly, just because there were certain things that were quote unquote broken and unbalanced. If I'm not mistaken, I believe in StarCraft One there were no medics, right? Am I crazy? I think medics that were introduced in Brood
There
War, if I'm
were
not
no
mistaken.
medics, yes.
Yeah. Like there were a lot of spellcasters and a lot of like tools. Like imagine playing Bio with Stim without the ability to heal. Like that is crazy, man. That is crazy. So I remember there was a previous interview, not Soso, but there was someone else who Zombigo spoke to who was also heavily involved in StarCraft One that spoke a little bit more on the meta of StarCraft One and how different it was. I think she spoke. I think it was Garimto. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Harimto. He spoke a lot on StarCraft One because he was also a pro player in StarCraft One in Korea, and he was actually mentioned in this interview as well. So it definitely ties in. Bearing in mind that Soso was playing from the Americas region, not from Korea, but of course did eventually go there and did eventually have that kind of connection. That's crazy. Meanwhile, the next bit of news, and again, I do highly recommend checking out the VOD, checking out the interview itself. There's a lot to get into there. It's really fascinating, especially if you're interested in StarCraft and interested in the history of StarCraft. Soso has a lot to say. Whew. Meanwhile, that leads us into some more modern StarCraft. Serral, he did break down his EWC series versus Classic, and there's a video on the Basilisk YouTube channel. If you recall, Basilisk have been releasing some of these videos. They did one with Raynor not too long ago. They did one with Raynor, and of course now we have one with Serral as well. And it's definitely an interesting. It definitely is a lot of fun. It's interesting to kind of hear their thought process behind some of their games. I will say that I'm not too. I was gonna say that I'm not too fond that they chose this series. Maybe the final series would have been a little bit more exciting. But this is not the finals. This is not
I
Serral versus Classic in the finals. It is their first series in the group stage.
I want to point out that this is the second video of Serral. The previous series was with Hero Marine, so it's very
Hero
possible
Marine,
that,
yeah.
that this is like a series that will continue.
Yeah. It's possible they're working through the tournament because the big game series was also in the group stage as well. It was also in the early rounds. Now, when it comes to this series, I guess it was interesting to hear from him. I will say that I do think there's value in having multiple people in the call. I think this would be a lot more entertaining, and I know it's meant to be analytical, but it can be both. If it was Serral and Raynor, I think even in the Raynor series, I think it would have been fun if
Do
they
you
were
think?
both in the call together, and they could even like maybe roast each other a
Do
little
you
bit. But more importantly,
do you think they have enough of each other after playing Portal? They just don't want to
we
see each other anymore.
we need more of that dynamic though. But more importantly, I think it's good to have someone to ask some pointed questions to help with things, because obviously Raynor and Serral, they're not the most well versed when it comes to communicating or when it comes to like being by themselves and talking about the game. And especially Serral, right? Like Serral, he's maybe not the most charismatic person or the most talkative person. He's gotten better over time, 100%. But I do think he would benefit from having another person there to bounce off of, 100%. And I think Raynor would be a good one. Maybe Rotterdam as well. Either one, right? Whether it's Raynor, whether it's Rotterdam. I do think that would have benefited this video. What I will say is that, Serral does a good job when it comes to being analytical, breaking down the matchup, breaking down the series for the most part. But there's definitely moments where I feel like I felt a little bit wanting. I felt like certain questions could have been asked so he could elaborate or even explain or even give some rationale or have some greater like meta elaboration on certain things, which would have benefited things. Not just that, but it was also a really rough series for him to cover first because the first game was like 40 minutes long. Like it was a really long macro game, and there was a big period in time where not much happened. Like there was a lot of downtime in the first game of Classic versus Serral, so that also didn't help because there was a lot where he had to kind of like speed through certain sections because the game slowed down. The game did slow down quite heavily. If you remember, it was on Persephone where Serral was hyper aggressive. He got a really early lead early on, but he couldn't kill Classic, so the game went to late game. Right, the game went to late game. The game slowed down. Classic maxed out. Serral maxed out. The map was split in half. There was a lot of posturing, a lot of these little minute moments, which Serral was able to get into. But again, like there was a lot of downtime in that first game. I think the first game, I don't think it did justice to the series, and yeah, it was definitely more of a slog to get through, unfortunately. Which I feel like is where another person would have benefited to have been there alongside Serral. I remember there were a couple of moments where I would have loved to have heard like a question asked. I think it was a moment where Serral, he spoke about how like he didn't, he scouted the tech, he scouted the follow up, but he didn't see he didn't see the warp ins, so he didn't know if it was going to be +1 blink or +1 in charge. So he had incomplete information, so he just played it safe and he threw down a roach one anyway. I think he had already thrown down a roach one at that time. Like moments like that, I would have loved to have heard him. I think I already know the answer, but like heard someone ask him like, "Hey, are there any moments where you would like cut corners and just skip the roach warren, just skip it entirely and just take that chance just to be a little bit more efficient or things of that nature?" Obviously, the answer, especially with Serral, is no. Is that he would just, I'm pretty sure he prefers to just play it safe anyway. But like even just to hear the rationale and even to pose in the question of, you know, why not to cut a corner, to take a risk at a time like that, or even asking him about the overall like approach in general. I think, for example, he kind of glossed over it, but he spoke about how specifically against Classic, he did go for a lot of link floods early on to delay and to punish the third base, and he decided to do that specifically against Classic to get an early lead and early momentum. Like, I feel like that's like a nice moment where to ask him, like, do you feel like if you don't get this damage done early on, that Classic would too comfortably get into a longer and later game, and that would be like a game state you couldn't play against or something, or that it'd be too difficult, considering the last time that they played where Classic did beat Serral in the late game. Like, I don't know, I feel like there are like interesting questions like that. Obviously, I feel like the answer would be yes. Like, the answer would be, yeah, like, you have to do something early against a Protoss, otherwise, like, they'll just, you know, snowball out of control. But like, it'd be, regardless, like, content wise, it'd be nice to have him like talk through his thought process and his rationale and what he believes and stuff like that. I think there are moments like that where, you know, it allows him to elaborate, but also it helps fill some dead space, some dead air, and just have something to talk about. So yeah, there were definitely moments like that that did leave me wanting. Overall, again, as I mentioned, like, the analysis was solid. I don't really think we, personally, at least I learned, comparing it to like our cast of the series, there wasn't too much there, but it was still nice to hear from himself. Nice to get some confirmation. There were a couple of moments that I thought were really interesting. Like, he spoke himself about cutting gases and being more Ling Hydra heavy, and how he personally likes to like delay his gases if he's going for that kind of style. I think a really funny moment, I remember it distinctly during the cast when we were casting his matches. In that moment on Persephone in game 1 against Classic, there's a moment where he throws down the infestation pit, and I remember like when I was casting, I was like, oh, like, because at the time he was setting up for an all-in, he was setting up for a Hydra Ling Bane all-in, and he threw down the pit, and I was like, oh, I guess like he doesn't feel confidence. Like, I guess he's already starting to work on that transition and get ready for Hive Tech, and he doesn't have like too much faith with his all-in. And it cuts to Serral at that time, and he's like, I don't know why I threw down the infestation pit. he's like, I'm gearing up for an all-in, I'm gearing up for my Ling Bane Hydra timing. Like, why did I do that? Why? He's like, I don't remember. He's like, I don't know. Like, he's like, maybe it was a fake out. Like, maybe I was trying to like throw down just so if it gets scouted, he believes I'm not going for an all-in. Maybe, I don't know. Like, it was funny to hear that Serral didn't really have an idea as to why he did it. I like, when we were casting, I'd assumed that maybe he was just he was lacking confidence and he was transitioning out of it. But he's still committed to the all-in anyway. It was a perplexing moment during the cast, and he himself didn't even know why he did it anyway. To be fair, like, this is a cast that's like, you know, a couple of months later, so remembering the thought process and remembering that moment is difficult, which he said himself, like, he just can't remember. But it was just funny to hear him be like, yeah, I don't know why I did that. That's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. It's kind of crazy. It's like, okay. So yeah, definitely some funny moments there when Serral was going over his games. But yeah, again, he went over the entire series. His first series against Classic. Bearing in mind, this is the group stage match. This is not the playoffs match. And this is the series where, long story short, Serral was very aggressive early on. He gained a lead early on. Classic was more defensive, and he failed to defend, so he locked himself into a longer game and a longer series, playing macro. But he would always be playing from behind, because Serral would get damaged on early on, right? He would get an early advantage, an early lead, and Classic wouldn't really be able to retaliate because he wasn't set up for that. This is also why, if you remember, in the grand finals of EWC, Classic had a very different approach, and he was hyper aggressive and I don't think at a single time in that series he ever played macro. He was going for earlier glaive timings, earlier Twilight Council timings, earlier blink timings, and was very in the face of Serral in their rematch. Most likely because of how this series unfolded, where Classic was going for these more defensive, more tech heavy, turtle heavy, safer builds, which were not working. Which Serral was able to get damage on regardless and take and maintain that lead. But GG well played, and again, I do recommend checking out the video itself, hearing from Serral's perspective. Again, the first game is a bit of a slug, but the rest of the series was a little bit shorter, a little bit more concise, and definitely a lot of insights there. If you're maybe a little bit unfamiliar with the matchup and unfamiliar with certain dynamics, there's definitely a lot to learn, a lot to glean, or even to have in the background as well. There's a lot to get into there. So I do recommend it. The next bit of news here that is StarCraft adjacent is a fantasy. This happened a couple of days ago. I do remember that I was going through Instagram and I noticed I think it was on creators creator story feed, and Armani story feed, and some of the other StarCraft guys. I was like, oh, what happened? They were at a wedding and it was fantasy. Fantasy as of a couple of days ago is now married. Did have his wedding, is now married, of course. So congratulations to Fantasy. A lot of the pro gamers were there. There's a lot of like different POVs on their social media, so do recommend checking out, I believe, Instagram for the most part, to see some of those POVs of the wedding itself, of the ceremony. But congratulations to Fantasy. Fantasy, of course, he was a very notorious and infamous StarCraft II pro gamer, but also Brood War as well. And in more recent times, did actually return to Brood War. I know there's some speculation currently that Fantasy might go back to Brood War. I think he was coaching League of Legends up until recently. I think his contract expired like a couple of weeks ago. So I think he stepped away from that coaching role, which is why right now there's a lot of speculation. I think, was it Jadong? No, or Flash? Like one of the big Brood War streamers and players did speculate that maybe Fantasy would be returning to Brood War because of that coaching contract expiring in League of Legends. So there's a chance that might occur. Again, it's just speculation from the pro players that he might return, but you know, that was before this happened, where, you know, he might be looking to start a family, or I mean, he at least has. And congratulations, of course, congratulations to Fantasy to kind of this big next big step when it comes to, you know, his life. It's a big moment for him, of course, as well. Congratulations, you know, wish him and his partner the best, of course, moving forward. And yeah. Congratulations, Bobby, congratulations. And again, there are some photos out there, as I mentioned, from other Korean pro gamers and other Korean personalities that did go to the event itself, go to the wedding, I should say. So congratulations, Bobby. Aye. Speaking of relationships here, Koka, who's a big part of the French StarCraft community, is a French caster and was even streaming and playing quite a lot as well in recent times. He's a part of Comeback TV alongside TKL and Funka, ex-Er Gaming, of course. He announced that he's a pappy. He's a pappy. Let's go. This is becoming more of a like prevalent thing. But congratulations to Koka, as is now a pappy as of a couple of days ago as well. Apparently, last Thursday, so it would have been a week ago. Is now a pappy. I believe has a lovely baby daughter. I believe, based on translations, is a baby daughter. So congratulations to Koka. This might impact his casting. It might mean that maybe Koka's going to be a little bit less available when it comes to casting, when it comes to content creation. But that's the good thing about Comeback TV. It is an effort, an initiative of 3 different casters of TKL, Funka, and Koka. So if Koka is less available, I'm sure TKL and Funka will step in. I'm sure they'll step in and take a bigger role when it comes to casting and content creation, while Koka looks after his family. So congratulations to Koka, papi. Congratulations. Another papi has joined the fray. Let's go. So congratulations. Actually, you know what? I'm going to like and retweet this. Beautiful. But GG well played. Yeah, I get it. It's kind of, it puts things into perspective here with how long StarCraft has been around. To have, you know, people starting families, whether it's getting married, whether it's, you know, having kids as well. It's something that's happening a little bit more and more frequently as, you know, people move into the next stages of their lives. Is really exciting and really Yeah, wishing the best. Wish Koka the best, Pappy. Wishing the best. Who's next? That's the real question, Pappy. Who's next? No. It's one of those things where I guess it's he was one of the early ones. But Pappy, look, if Jaime can start a family, then yeah, it's gonna happen to everyone. It's gonna anyone, Pappy. Este Jaime. I still every time, Kuro, I still think about the comment that was made from his chat. Their poor child, poor baby.
That was not from the chat, that was from his own video. That was his comment.
Let's go. Much love to Jaime, much love. But with that, we're going to be stepping into our tournament results. Here we go. So up first, we do have the StarCraft Evolution League number 16. The first in a long time. Again, SCL StarCraft Evolution has been in a really weird game state and has been on hiatus. The reasoning for this, if you recall, is because of the latest patch, right? We just got a patch in StarCraft 2, and that has impacted the balance of StarCraft 2 versus Brood War. That is the mod in StarCraft Evolution. So they've been working on a mod. They've been working on a balance patch for the mod, and I believe it's still in the works. As they are, of course, seeing the interactions of how Storm now works and how Storm interacts with the brutal units, ghosts, banelings. Just a lot has changed. A lot has been shaking it up, and it's going to be a lot of work here to try to balance the game for StarCraft Evolution after a big patch going live of StarCraft 2. So it's going to take quite a bit. Because of that, that's why we've had a bit of a longer kind of off-season in regards to StarCraft Evolution. But here we go. We have the first SEL in a long time. This is, I believe, a bi-weekly tournament. And we did have a Solar. He's one of the latest players from Korea to really embrace StarCraft Evolution. It's a recent change. I want to say from like 2 months ago, maybe. Post EWC, Solar, he was invited to he competed in the Chijik event, the Murloc King tournament. Sola did really well for himself in the Murloc King event, and ever since then, Sola has been competing more and more in StarCraft Evolution, so he's kind of like gotten that bug, he's kind of been lured in, and now he's locked in as well, and he's looking pretty in form. He takes down Gilliman, takes down Milky Cow, takes down Rumiath, and takes down Tasia in the grand finals. I will say that it wasn't the easiest of performances. Milky Cow took a game, Gilliman took a game, Tasia took a game. So there was definitely a back and forth in those ZVTs, but in the end, Solar did claim the win. GG well played. Solar, he's been on a tear as of late in StarCraft 2, and looks like in StarCraft Evolution, looking to do the same. Congratulations. For those that maybe haven't been watching StarCraft Evolution, it might be looking like, oh, Tasia, what? Tasia's competing? Yes, Tasia, he started competing like half a year ago. It's been a while. If you missed it, plenty of VODs on YouTube, on our channel. We've been casting a lot of Tasia as of late. We cast him while we can. As a reminder, Tasia, he recently took the exam, to be a public servant, and I believe Tasia is competing in StarCraft Evolution until he gets his results, until he gets his degree basically, or diploma, or what have you, his certificate of completion, before he starts the next stage of his career and gets a job and focuses on that career instead. So from my understanding, he's playing StarCraft Evolution while he can focus on it before he does take a full-time job. So we appreciate Tasia while we can, Pappy, while we can. Civil servant. I think it said public servant, civil servant. I think it's the same thing. One of the two. But great to see Tasia doing well for himself. I will say that the bracket was stacked in a weird way. ILSUP actually had a really impressive run. Look at him. He took down Prom and 3 points and Middle VK. I would have favored 3 points to go up against Tasia, to be honest, but the ZVZ did go in favor of ILSUP. He even took down Middle VK. Really impressive play there from the Russian Zerg player. So GG well played. Did deny 3 points from making it to the semis. And again, congratulations to Tasia. We most likely will be covering this in English, most likely via replays at a later date. But regardless, congratulations to Solar, and shout out to Tasia for coming in second place, respectively, and first place for Solar. So GG well played. And again, this marks the beginning of the new season of StarCraft Evolution League, which will be leading most likely into the championship coming into 2026. Meanwhile, we do have our amateur events, our amateur tournaments here. We do have the Amateur League Weekly number 145. This is for, again, as name insinuates, amateur players. The first weekly is for those between the leagues of Bronze and Platinum. So these tournaments are, there's basically one tournament for each bracket of skill, each bracket of play. First up, we have Bronze to Platinum. We do have we have Shadow Lucid. Interesting, a player that I've not seen here before. But Shadow Lucid takes down Dollar Tree Dipper, takes down Coral Viper, and takes down Dollar Tree Dipper in the grand finals 3-2. Went all the way to the ace match. But again, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is a newer face in the tournament series, in the tournament. And congratulations for winning his first weekly. Congratulations to you, 3-2 over Dollar Tree Dipper. That leads us into the Diamond 3 to Diamond 2 brackets of the tournament. Here we have some regulars. We have Sugarcoat II and Urehao as well. Urehao, the Korean player, does actually make it all the way to the finals. Did originally go down to Sonmok early on, but was able to bounce back from the lower bracket, win in the rematch, and actually defeat Sugarcoat 3-2 in the grand finals. Went all the way to the ace match. Urehao did actually compete in SDO not too long ago in Sea Duckling Open, and I believe did win SDO, and is even here winning the D3 to D2 event as well. Congratulations here to Urehao. That leads us into the Prestige Tournament, Diamond 1 to Masters 2. Here, again, I feel like a lot of the regulars, I think they've like since leveled up. I'm thinking of like Dizzy Dwarf. I'm thinking of Dizzy Dwarf, for example. It's been a while since we've seen him, but I think he has exceeded the MMR limit. But here we have Hiddich. Hiddich takes down Battle Beast 2-0, and Battle Beast comes back in the finals 3-1 over Hiddich. GG, well played. He was able to take down Zigger in the process, Cos Phoenix as well, and Set. Some big wins here. Set, Cos Phoenix, and Zigger, they all did fall to Battle Beast. Congratulations. Does claim the win here in the Diamond 1 to Masters 2 division. That leads us into the final division, M1 to GM. No surprises here, but yo, Hatsu claims the win. Let's go. I mean, again, there's no restriction to who can sign up for this. As I mentioned before, we talk about this every week. Unfortunately, the reason why the GM version of this event is so barren is because all the pro players compete in tournaments and provide a prize pool. The Amateur League weeklies provide points, but they don't provide any prize money in the weekly tournaments. Based on points that you accumulate over the course of the season, you are invited into a end of season event that does have prize money, that does have a prize pool, but you have to accumulate those points. And again, it feels like there are a lot of these GMs, semi-pros, pro players that don't really, feel the value in playing in a tournament that provides only points of initially, right? Like obviously down the line you do this for some prize money, but yeah, as a result, they're just not really interested in competing. It is a bit of a shame. So because of that, we rarely get to see many signups in the GM version of this. But GG, well played, and congratulations to Hatsu for getting the walkover win. That leads us into our next event. That is the Chat Star League number 42. This is also an MMR restricted tournament. Quickly double checking here. I believe it is 5.2. Just double checking the MMR restriction. 5.3. There we go. So 5.3k MMR, that is low GM. Low GM essentially is restricted, and we had quite an amount of players here. We did have Set got knocked out early on, Cos Phoenix got knocked out early on. We had Sig popping off, making it to the finals, and Gref takes down Sig 3-1. Gref, for those who are unaware, is a Ukrainian cannon rusher. He does almost exclusively cannon rush. He's an animal, so I'm sure that was a very short series. But shout out to Sig for making it to the finals, and I am familiar with Sig in the sense that I believe he's been a little bit less active as of late. Like Sig, he's a little bit rusty, a little bit rough around the corners. I would typically favor Sig over Gref, but if you're rusty, if you're a little bit out of form, out of shape, then cannon rushes can still be terrifying. So Gref does win it 3-1. GG, well played. Congratulations to Gref for claiming the win, and that leads us into our regional events and show matches. First, we do have the EGB Zerg Cup qualifier number 2 and qualifier number 1. Sorry, qualifier 2 and 3. I think we went into number 1 previously, if not mistaken. So in qualifier number 2, oh right, was this the event that was seeded in a weird way?
Yeah, that was this huge thing that all the pro players were in the same group. Yes.
Yeah, I remember this. This was infamously the first qualifier was stacked in a really weird way. The seeding did not make any sense. And as Kura just mentioned, all the pro players were in one group, and it was top 1 of the group made it through into the playoffs. So like a lot of top players were just removed. It was kind of weird. It was a really weird system. Looks like qualifier 2, different format, which is a good thing. We just had a regular single elimination bracket. Congratulations to Replicant. I spoke earlier about the bracket being a little bit one-sided, and I think it's okay here. I think it's okay. Replicant does advance on over Fantic, over Karma Prime, over Nurm de Mold, who I think we've casted before, by the way, and does advance on over Ashbringer in the finals. Really cool to see Ashbringer again. If you remember, we spoke about this a couple of months ago, but Ashbringer, he's been on a hiatus. He basically retired for like a year, maybe longer. He's been gone for a long time, and he recently came back. And it's great to see more of Ashbringer. He played in the Sparkling Tuna Cup, and he started playing in some of the Open Cups, and really cool to see the return of him. Ashbringer, he's a very young player. He had a lot of potential as well, and then he stepped away, right? Then he disappeared, and he only recently returned. So it's great to see him competing, and I hope to see more of Ashbringer in the future. Does fall to Replicant, but hey, he made it to the ace match. Did make it to the ace match there, so congratulations. I mean, top 2 qualify anyway. So Ashbringer and Replicant, they will both make it through into the main event.
I think you're confusing Ashbringer with someone else, because Ashbringer is 27.
I think I'm confusing it with Exo Striker.
Yes, every time.
Every time. God damn it. No, but I think me stating that he's been gone for a long time is still applicable. Double checking here, and yes, 2024. Yeah, 2024 was back when he was active, and so I was correct. So I was confusing him when it came to the age, but when it came to everything else that I mentioned, that was on point, where he had been gone for over a year of play, and he came back August of this year in Sparkling Tunic Cup 103. So again, great to see the return of Ashbringer. As I mentioned, like, he's been going for a long time. Did confuse his age with Exo Striker. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. But great to see him here nonetheless, and I hope to see more of him in the future, not just in these regional events, but in more open cups as well. Do hope to see him. But congratulations to both Replicant and Ashbringer for making it through. That leads us into the third qualifier, and in the third qualifier we had UED-Soldier. UED-Soldier, he does make it through over Toster, over Nuguri, and Phalanker as well. Again, this was a bit of a smaller bracket, and top 2 make it through. UED-Soldier and Phalanker make it through, and now we have our confirmed players for the main event. Now, something that is a bit of a shame, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of the top players that played in the first qualifier didn't return for the other qualifiers. I hope that there isn't bad blood. There might be, to be honest. Like, they might be a little bit spiteful, and there might be some drama behind the scenes because of how things turned out. Like Wayne, for example. Wayne, GG Machine, they were a part of the first qualifier. They are some of the best Zerg players in the CIS region, and they're not there, right? Like, they're not. They're some of the best. They are some of the best players, if not the best players in the region, and they did not return for the other qualifiers after the first one. So it's possible that maybe there is some drama there, that like the first qualifier was really unfair. So it's like, why bother? So they didn't return for the others, and because of that, the final event is going to be lacking that caliber of play. They still have Shameless, true. But I would say that GG Machine and Wayne would have been really good competitors against Shameless. Now, I feel like there's a bit of a skill gap. Like, when I think of the CIS region, when I think of the players that can fight against Shameless, I think of Wayne, I think of GG Machine, I think of Young Yakov, I think of Nickeract as well. I think of Middle VK. There are some really big players in the region, but they're not here, right? They were a part of the first qualifier, not a part of the second or the third. So as a result, I do think there's a bit of a skill gap, and we'll see if anyone can bring it to Shameless. There are some good players here, like Ashbringer, UED-Soldier, Replicant. I do think those are the 3 players that can maybe threaten Shameless, but there's still, I would say, a gap in skill there. So best of luck. Best of luck to all those involved. I'm thinking of like Strange as well. Yeah, Strange isn't here. But regardless, best of luck. Best of luck as I get into the main events, and that'll be taking place over the next couple of weeks, I would imagine. So best of luck. Meanwhile, that leads us into the next tournament. That leads us into the Legacy Weekly Japan. This is a weekly tournament for the Japanese region, for the Japanese scene. And we do have our results coming in. Show me that Tapioca. Where are we? Yeah. Tapioca takes on Vaishravanya 2-1, takes on Sayar 2-0, takes on Horiken 2-0, and takes on Noah Shirayuki 2-0 as well. Ooh, only dropped a map to Vaishravanya, who I believe won the previous weekly. So big wins here. Again, for those who don't know, Tapioca has, I would say, cemented themselves as the best player in Japan. This is a recent development over the past year of play, over the past like maybe 8 months. Tapioca has kind of risen through the ranks and has cemented themselves, and yeah, it's honestly looking really good. I said this before, I say it again. I wish that Tapioca played in some more Open Cups. Does dominate the Japanese region, but it would be nice to see them in amongst the other players, the rest of the player base in the greater Asia region. Would be nice, would be nice. But congratulations, regardless, to Tapioca. I say he's the best player in the region, the best player in Japan. That is true, but often does go toe to toe against players like Psyark, like Vice Ravania, as you saw, there's another player, Deadly Kitten, for example, as well. Like, there are some of these other players that do threaten and do bring Tapioca down, but this week did go through and is the champion. Congratulations. Congratulations
I
to Tapioca.
I will mention though something specific to Japanese scenes, that I believe there are some formal problems with tournaments in Japan, and I don't know exactly like how the rules apply, but this is, for example, why they are not covered on Wikipedia, because they can't have monetary prizes in the tournaments, and that's one of the requirements for Wikipedia. So that may be part of why we don't see these Japanese players in like Open Cups.
That didn't stop Psyark. Like, Psyark,
True.
he was
But
like,
that was also
when he
a
was
while
more active,
ago.
he was yeah, but there's an asterisk on that one. I would say that might more have to do with the tournament organizer. If the tournament organizer is based in Japan, maybe that's something that can't really be done, maybe. But I would put an asterisk on that just because Psyark was a very active player in the greater international scene. But you're right. Maybe it's a recent change. Maybe not. Maybe not. Hard to say. Hard to say, but that leads us into the Sunrise Cup number 223. This is a weekly tournament for the Chinese region, and we are missing some of our regulars here. Where is Tsukino? Where is Millennium Fox? Where is Nanyu? Where is Nanami? A lot of the big names, a lot of the big players are missing this week. A little bit surprising. In general, the signups are very low. For those that maybe are tuning in for the first time, Sunrise Cup, the Chinese weekly, usually has a massive bracket. There's a lot of interest and a lot of participation amongst the semi-professional, professional, and even amateur scene in China. So a little bit surprised to see a smaller bracket this week, and surprised to see a lot of the regular top players are not here. So without them, Number takes down Latte. Number gets a walkover over Nanami Chiaki, and Number takes down Sama in the grand finals 3-0. Again, I would say the skill level of this tournament is a lot lower than we usually expect, and congratulations to Number. Congratulations for claiming the win. GG. GG, well played. Again, a bit of a lower turnout this week. We'll see if that trend continues, or if it just happens to maybe coincide with something else that's happening in China. Is possible. That leads us into the Elpis Team League 2025 Full Code A Edition, the semi-finals. Leads us into the semis. Of course, the playoffs have been underway, and we've almost wrapped up the tournament this season for the Elpis Team League. For those who are curious, this is a Chinese team league. This is the Code A edition. This is where all the second division teams have been facing off. And we have Starlight Twinkle. The Starlight Twinkle second division, they take down Protoss the Best, PTB 4-2. Lingyu goes up against Alka. They tie 1-1. Remember, this is the WTL kind of like all-kill formats where you can stay on if you're 2-0, but if you're tied 1-1, you knock each other out. We then had their next player taking down SOH 2-0, takes down YKN 2-0, and knocks himself out alongside Ivy to win the match. GG, well played here to Starlight Twinkle, and that means in the finals we're going to have Starlight Twinkle second division up against 4-Leaf Clover in those finals. Best of 7. That'll be in 2 days. That'll be in 2 days' time. In 2 days' time, we'll be able to crown our Code A champions. That leads us into the Elpis Team League 2025 Full Code S edition. This is where the big Chinese teams have been facing off. And we have Elpis. Oh, Elpis, they take down PCEC 4-2. PCEC, were they able to field their A team here? Am I mistaken? But I believe PCEC, they have Mixu, right? Yes, they have Mixu. Where was he? When his team needed him most, no Mixu in the playoffs. Ay. Unfortunate here. They do not have Mixu. I believe they have Nanyu. Let me just double check. Translates. Yes. Nanyu, I would say, was their ace player. I believe we had Millennium Fox as their starting player as well. One of these days, I'll be able to recognize it by sight. Yeah, there we go. So we had Millennium Fox and Restart tied 1-1. They knocked each other out. And then we had... Ooh, who is this? Then we had Jaffe. Is that an alternate ID? Oh, that's Nanami. You know, one of these days we're gonna have like a standardization when it comes to naming. Like some places Nanami, other places Chiaki, other places another ID. Goddamn. So Nanami Chiaki is the ace player of Elpis, and Nanami Chiaki two O's Nanyu, two O's or does take down Millennium Fox, and does take down Nanyu in the rematch. Tied 1-1, they knock each other out, and Elpis they claim the win 4-2 over PCEC. Again, Nanami Chiaki is one of the best players in all of China, so a hefty ace player for Elpis, and unfortunately, no Mixu. Again, I would say that Mixu would be the ace player for PCEC alongside Nanyu. It makes sense that they revived Nanyu in the final game, but Mixu was nowhere to be found. No Mixu here. GG, Elpis take the win. They take the win, and now they're up against Starlight Twinkle in the grand finals. It's going to be a spicy one once again. That'll be taking place in 2 days' time. Meanwhile, big shout out to Stan in the chat. Thank you so much for subscribing for 35 months. 35 months. That's a lot of months. Thank you. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much. As again, we're going to be crowning our Codes champion also in 2 days' time. We'll be here to report on it next week's podcast. We'll be there. We will be there. That leads us into the OSC Masters Cup number 150 Group C. For those that are unfamiliar, Masters Cup is an OSC tournament that is, I think it's annual, but Dave Testa, he is the sponsor, and as a result, he is the sole caster of the event. So Dave Tesla, he's been sponsoring, he's been running, and he's been covering the event itself. A massive prize pool here. True. Does have a 600 USD prize pool and has been working through the group stage. This week we have Group C. Group C did conclude. Coming into this, I was leaning towards Creator, Nickrat, and Young Yakov, but never mind. Yakov fails to make it through. It came down to the wire here. Quickly going over it, Creator comes out in first place. He was tied 1-1 with Young Yakov and Sebestis. So did drop some maps to Yakov and Sebestis in the group stage. Meanwhile, we had Sebestis. He was able to take down Nickrat 2-0 and was tied 1-1 with other players. Again, these are all best of twos. Best of two round robin group stage. Young Yakov, he actually didn't straight up lose any series. Like, he took down Homono, he tied with Sebestis, tied with Creator, and did he play against Nickrat? And he lost to Nickrat. Big loss. Yeah, he did lose 2-0 to Nickrat in the end. And Nickrat himself did take down Homono, did lose to Creator, did lose to Sebestis. In the end, Nickrat and Young Yakov, they had an even scoreline of 4-4, but in the head-to-head, Nickrat did 2-0 Young Yakov. So despite being tied in scorelines, Nickrat technically wins the head-to-head. He does come out on top, and Nickrat does advance on over Young Yakov. GG, well played. And again, it was close, came down to the wire, but in the end we have Creator, Sebestis, and Nickrat making it through Group C. And of course, in a day, tomorrow, we're going to be having Group D. Group D is going to be Jumi, Foxer, Geralt, and Inexorable, and Moja. Coming into this group, I feel like Geralt and Jumi should be a sure thing. They should be a sure thing. They're going to be heavy hitters. Which Terran will join them? Foxer, Inexorable, or Moja? Hard to say. There's a lot of hype around Foxer. Foxer, he's been on the grind. He's been competing a lot recently. I would say that Foxer is in form, but never count Moja out. Moja is a very aggressive player. He's a very cheesy player. Moja, he can cheese anyone out, so he's a wild card. I would say that maybe Geralt, Jumi, and Foxer are favored, but Moja is a wild card that can mix things up. Inexorable is also a bit of a wild card, but Inexorable has been less in form recently. He's been a little, I'll be honest, like, he has been less in form. He's been struggling a little bit more. I think he's been devoting a little bit less time to playing and to competing, so I feel like that's been showing. I feel like that has been showing, but best of luck. Best of luck to all the players, as again, Group D is going to be in a day's time. Best of luck. Best of luck. That leads us into the OSC Elite Rising Star number 17. Number 17. We did cast a lot of this week. 15 best of fives. 15 best of threes. 15 best of threes back to back. That was a lot of Rising Star, and we were able to work through most of it here. We worked through the upper brackets. Shameless took down Jumi 2-0. Percival took down Young Yakov 2-0 as well. And we have Shameless and Percival in the upper brackets. We have our top two players. If you remember, my prediction for this event was that the top three players would be Shameless, Percival, and Young Yakov. Like, those are the top three in my mind. And we'll see how they turn out here. We had a really spicy series between Yakov and Percival. Percival did come out on top, and we'll see how Percival fares against Shameless. It's going to be a spicy one. It's going to be good. I'm hoping for a back and forth. Meanwhile, we did cover a lot of the elimination matches as well. Nickeract eliminated Foxer 2-1. Nickeract eliminated Hydra 2-1 as well. Mixu eliminated Sebestus. Rebellion eliminated Arts. He did end up falling to Baby Marine. MidVK took down Prom and took down Lelix as well. So we are bidding adieu, and a lot of players have been eliminated this week. A lot of players have been knocked out. We still have a couple of matches down there, though. We have Demi versus Mixu, winner against Nickeract, winner of that against Young Yakov. We have Baby Marine versus MidVK, winner against Jumi. So still a lot of matches to go. But I will say we're nearing the end of the event. I think maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks worth of matches, or even 1 week. Yeah, it should be around like 2 weeks worth of matches, and then we can crown our champion. I did mention that the top 3 in my mind are Yakov, Percival, and Shameless. Currently, because of Percival's form, I think Percival's probably favored to win the entire event. Like Percival, he's been grinding hard, he's been improving a lot. I cannot overlook that. I cannot overlook the growth of Percival. But best of luck to everyone else. Best of luck to Shameless, Yakov, Nickeract, Mixu, Baby Marine, Jumi. There are definitely players here that can threaten Percival, 100%. I mean, hey, Sebestus already took a game. I mean, Sebestus is out of the tournament, but he did, make Percival bleed previously, and I believe that others here can make him bleed as well. So best of luck. Best of luck. Again, we didn't even get to talk about it, but the OSC Elite Rising Star tournament is a restricted tournament. It means that the top players of the world cannot compete. Referring to players like Björn or Cure or Clem or Max. Players that placed too highly in their respective regionals over the past 5 years cannot compete in this, or the others can. That's why this is for like the up-and-coming players instead. Like those that you see before you. For the up-and-comers. So best of luck to everyone involved. That leads us into the OSC King of the Hill weekly number 231 and 232. Back to back King of the Hills. I believe these were covered by Steadfast. I think Steadfast and maybe Wardy as well. Just double checking Steadfast. Okay, Steadfast covered both of them. This is a King of the Hill style tournament, best of ones. The way that works here is that you have 15 matches, 15 best of ones. Winner stays on, loser is eliminated. And sometimes you get some revives. Sometimes if the player base available is a little bit smaller, then Eddie, the organizer, will revive some players and field them for a second time if need be. If we do run out. Up first we had Lelix. Lelix takes down Moja 1-0. Mixu takes down Lelix. Milky Cow takes down Mixu. Cham takes down Milky Cow. And Baby Marine takes down Cham. And we just keep trading. So for the first 5 games, no one went on a win streak. Remember, King of the Hill, winner stays on, but they just kept knocking each other out. Moja got knocked out, Lelix got knocked out, Mixu got knocked out, Milky Cow got knocked out, Cham got knocked out, just kept occurring time and time again. This does happen. Every now and then we have like these big long win streaks, or sometimes we have some more so we have more of these like back and forth chaotic situations and chaotic scenarios instead. The first player to win more than 1 game in a row, Baby Marine. He takes down Cham, he takes down Creature, but he falls to Shameless. We spoke about Shameless during the OSC Elite Rising Star tournaments, but Shameless, he is one of the up-and-comers. He has a lot of potential as a player. He's very young, and he's been improving so much over the past 2 years. Over the past 2 years of play, Shameless has grown so much as a player. He does go on a big win streak himself. He takes down Baby Marine, takes down Demi, takes down Jumi, but does fall to Geralt. Geralt does take him down in the best of 1. Short-lived as Björn takes down Geralt, and then of all players, Bjotr, Spirit, he takes down Björn, he takes down Nickeract, and then he falls to Percival. Hey, we just spoke about him. We just spoke about our Percival. He has been improving a lot as well. He is potentially the next rising star for 2025. He takes down Spirit and then takes down Geralt to be the final King of the Hill for number 231. GG well played. Percival, he is the last player standing amongst all the players. And again, shout out to Spirit as well. Spirit, he was the player that knocked down Björn. Björn was the highest rated player in this tournament, but we were praising Spirit a couple of weeks ago because of his performances. It's this weird kind of situation where I would say Spirit right now is in better form than he's been in the entire year. Even better than EWC, which is a little bit unfortunate. I'm sure that Spirit wanted to peak in the lead up to EWC, but I would say he's peaking right now instead. Spirit has been playing a lot more, competing a lot more, and achieving better results. So it's been really cool to see Spirit actually playing the best he has the entire year right now. It is a bit of a shame that he kind of like missed that window of EWC. Did miss it. But congratulations to Percival, as again, he is going to be the King of the Hill for 231. That leads us into 232. Here we go. So Percival, he was invited to be the starting player. He was a previous week's champion, so he gets invited in. He starts, and he gets knocked out immediately. Oh my god, Mixu, calm down. Mixu goes on a pretty substantial win streak here. Mixu takes down Percival, takes down Milky Cow, takes down Sebestus, takes down Rebellion, takes down Luna C. 5 wins in a row. Very impressive play there by Mixu. He eventually gets stopped by Jumi. Jumi does knock him down. Jumi does put an end to the win streak, but that is also short-lived as Solar goes on a win streak himself. Solar takes down Jumi, takes down Baby Marine, takes down Piotr, takes down Spirit, takes down Geralt, takes down Nicorette, takes down Moja, wins 6 games in a row, takes down Ledlick 7 games in a row, and then he forfeits. You can see that suddenly Solar, his run ends. I believe he was unavailable. So Solar, he could only compete up until a certain point. Then Solar did have to leave, did have to step away. Something came up. Maybe another tournament was clashing. Maybe something else came up. Hopefully everything's okay, but we've been experiencing this with our tournaments. Like, it does feel like there's a certain cutoff point where Solar isn't available. He's forfeited in our tournaments quite often because of that. He forfeits here as well, so it is a little bit unfortunate, but Solar does tap out. And Geralt, it does get revived to take his place. Geralt takes down Art, and then Geralt gets taken out by Max Pax. Suddenly a wild Max Pax appears. I feel like we were robbed of a potential Solar versus Max Pax series. That would have been a lot of fun, but again, Solar had to forfeit, so Max, he does end as the King of the Hill for number 232 with 1 win. With 1 win under his belt. Of course, Solar had the most amount of wins with 7, Mixu's second most with 5, and we didn't get to talk about it, but Solar, he has been peaking at the moment. Like, Solar's been getting a lot of really good results. I'm sure we'll discuss it during the discussion of the weekly Open Cups. But Solar has been achieving a lot, he's been improving a lot, has been excelling, especially in ZVP. Like, ZVP has been his matchup. He's been doing well for himself, and yeah, we'll be getting into that during the Open Cups. GG well played. Congratulations to Max, and shout out to Solar and Mixu for their own respective win streaks. Congratulations. And again, those tournaments, those 2 events were organized they were organized by OSC and run by Steadfast. Meanwhile, speaking of Open Cups, we jump into this week's Awardee TV Monday. Awardee TV Monday number 62. Speaking of Solar, he was not here. Oh, sorry, he was here. Gets knocked down early. Oh my god. Feel a little bit foolish. We were hyping him up, but no, he gets knocked down by Lambo. Rambo, papi. Oh my god, Lambo, he is a rare sight. Lambo, he rarely competes. He rarely competes in Open Cups. He's spoken about it himself. He doesn't really like playing in Open Cups. He has his own personal thoughts about it. He's not fond of the idea of having downtime and waiting for casters. He's not fond of the idea of being casted and having his games shown to the public. Yeah, like Lambert, he's not really fond of Open Cups. But hey, this week he played. So really cool to see that he competed. He took down Solar 2-1. He did 4 to Cure, but he took a game. Impressive. Impressive result here at Lambert. Does take a game off of Cure. That leads us into the semifinals. Max, he 2-0's Creator, he 2-0's Percival, and he 2-1's Cure. Cure did take him to the ace match, but Max comes out on top in the end. Scoring down Hero 2-0's Laser. Once again, a Laser, he has made his return. It's a bit of a shame that Laser started playing StarCraft again this patch after he left Team Liquid. If you remember, Laser did leave Team Liquid. He was let go. A big reason for that is that Laser has not been competing in StarCraft. He has been competing in AoE, in Age of Empires 4, but that's not really a game that that Team Liquid really cares much about. I would say the reason for that, AoE 4, not a part of EWC. It was not a part of EWC for the last 2 years, and I do believe that is their main focus, and the reality is that they don't really need a large roster to compete in StarCraft. So unfortunately, they did let go of a good chunk of players, and one of them was a Laser, so unfortunately he was let go, and it was after he got let go, they started playing again. So it's a little bit awkward. But did start competing in recent weeks. Does get knocked down early. Hero 2-0's Laser, 2-0's Shameless, and he takes down Nicorette 2-1. I don't want to gloss over that. Nicorette, he 2-1 Rainer. Very impressive. I speak about this all the time, and you know this if you've been following the CranKy Ducklings, but we give a lot of praise to Nicorette, specifically for TVP. I would say his best matchup is TVP, and you can even see it here. He lost to Hero, took a game. He did force Hero to the ace match. He has a really, really high quality and high level TVP, and that is his best matchup. His TVT is decent, his TVZ is decent, but this week specifically, he takes down Raynor. That is crazy. I know that Nickrat has a really aggressive style of TVZ. We see a lot of 3-base all-ins, a lot of 3-base play, a lot of drop-heavy play. He's very aggressive, very in your face, very micro-oriented as well. I'll say that Nickrat is a very fast player. He's a very fast player. And for Nickrat to take down Raynor, I would love to see those games. I'd love to see those games. I'd love to see what happened there. Really impressive play there by Nickrat. And I would say an upset. I think a lot of people have high expectations of Raynor. And Raynor's in Korea right now. Raynor, he is in form. He just got, was it top 4 or top 5 in RSL? Like Raynor, I want to ensure that you understand that Raynor, he's not slumping right now. Like, he is in form. He's been doing well. He just competed, just performed decently well at RSL. So for him to fall to Nickrat, that says more about Nickrat more than anything. So congratulations to Nickrat. Does take down Raynor. In the end, Hero did take down Nickrat, and we had the PvP finals. Max takes down Hero 3-1 to win this week's War DTV Monday. GG, well played. We are missing some regulars, specifically, I was going to say we're missing Clem. I see him, he got knocked out by Percival in the round 16. I did hear about this in the chat. They had a rematch, but I did hear about this in the chat that Percival did defeat Clem's Protoss, so really impressive play there by Percival. I was about to say that Clem, he's usually in the finals and usually winning these tournaments, but he was denied early in the tournaments instead. GG. So well played there to Percival to bring Clem down, and not an easy feat. That leads us into the Monday Night Weeklies, and this is where Clem gets his revenge. Clem, he gets his revenge. He takes down Baby Marine 2-0 as Protoss. He takes down Shameless 2-0, takes down Solar 2-0, takes down Hero 2-0. Jesus, Clem just going on a tear in the upper brackets towards everyone. Before making it to the grand finals. Meanwhile, when it comes to his opponents in the upper bracket, Hero took down Fiant, took down Geralt. He got his revenge over MaxPax. Remember, MaxPax beat Hero in War DTV Monday. Hero beats MaxPax in Monday Night Weeklies. They often trade, right? MaxPax and Hero, they often trade. They often go back and forth. So Hero, he wins in the rematch. In the lower bracket, Solar, best of ones in the lower bracket. Solar takes down Geralt. Solar takes down MaxPax. Solar takes down Hero. I would say that Solar's current best matchup is ZVP. If you've been watching, you know that Solar's been going for non-stop all-ins in ZVP, and because of the map pool, Protoss players have been having a hard time defending. They've been having a really hard time surviving Solar's all-ins, and Solar's been excelling. And Solar, he makes it all the way to the grand finals, and we had a back and forth at best of 5. Clem takes down Solar 3-2, but very clutch series here. I would love to see these games. I'd love to know how Solar did perform on Mothership and Winter Madness, on how he did approach Clem in this matchup, as Clem is the best Terran in the world. So impressive to see Solar also relatively successful in this matchup as well. I say relatively because Clem did 2-0 previously, and he still lost the series, but to take 2 games of Clem is not easy. That is not an easy feat. So congratulations to Clem. Shout out to Solar. That leads us into Pigasus Cup. Pigasus Cup number 59. We did cover this event ourselves. We did cast this live. Clem, he gets his revenge over Percival. He wins 2-0 as Protoss, of course. Clem does not play TVT, so Clem, he does win in the rematch. Clem, he 3-0 Solar. So we spoke about how impressive Solar was. I stand by what I said. I would love to know how he performed in that series, because we casted this one, and Clem, he had a very strong showing against Solar. Clem, he took him down 3-0, did bop him to make it to the finals. In the finals, we were covering Bjorn. We were covering Bjorn versus Epic, Bjorn into MaxPax. Bjorn had a really intense series versus MaxPax. Really intense, really aggressive. Bjorn did take him down. Then we had Bjorn versus Hero in the semifinals. Hero had a much more aggressive approach. MaxPax had more of a macro approach, so a very different dynamic. Bjorn was hyper aggressive. That's how Bjorn beat MaxPax, with a lot of aggressive builds, and was very in his face. Did shut him down. Hero was able to excel in that more chaotic kind of game state. Hero took down Bjorn, and Hero took down Clem in the finals 3-2. Was a very intense, very aggressive, very dynamic PvT. I do recommend it. A lot of proxies, a lot of aggression, very much so in the face of each other. Very high action, high octane TVP. Do recommend it. GG, well played. Hero does win the event 3-2 over Clem. Congratulations, gets his revenge. And this is kind of what we expect here. Who have been the champions so far this week? You know, MaxPax, Hero, Clem. Like, these are the best Protoss and Terran players in the world, so they often trade back and forth. To trade. That leads us into the Turtle Tussle that was this morning. This morning, we were live with the Turtle Tussle number 36. This is a bi-weekly tournament. We did run it ourselves, of course, and here we did have Björn. Björn took down Rebellion 2-0, Shameless 2-0, and went up against Percival in the grand finals, did take him down 3-1. What I will say is that I was very happy to see Sort of, he's very inactive. If you remember, for most of this year, Sort of retired. He retired from StarCraft II, and similarly to Laser, and they're good friends, and they often talk to each other, and I think they play against each other as well, in what? AoE 4. Sort of, he's been playing a lot of Age of Empires 4 this year, but just like a Laser, for this patch and for this map pool, Sort of returned to StarCraft 2. And I was really curious to see how he would look, how he would perform, because he's been gone for so long. And he toured Geralt. That was a big win. Geralt, I would say, is one of the best Protoss players in Europe. When I say one of the best, obviously behind Max, behind Skillus, behind Showtime. But I would say that Geralt, he's like top 5. He's like top 5 Protoss in Europe. Around the skill level of Christiana, of Shameless, of Hearthstone, like they're kind of around that skill level, like between like top 4 to top like 6 of Protoss and EU. So for Sort of to take him down 2-0 was a very impressive feat. I was not expecting that. Of course, it'd go down to Percival, but that was a really intense series. We casted that this morning, of course. Percival was very aggressive and sort of he barely didn't have clean enough early game. There were a lot of really clutch moments where Percival would get into a mineral line and bam, 15 dead workers. Like it was really, really tight and really intense. And at any moment that sort of was a little bit sloppy or just a little bit inattentive to his defenses, Banshee harass, Hellion harass, Liberate harass would just get in, get damage done, and give Percival a comfortable lead. And that was the series in a nutshell. Just Percival having a very, very nice lead early on, and then just snowballed out of control from there. Did snowball out of control. From there, Percival, he does make it to the grand finals where Björn did take him down 3-1. It was still an intense series, and I'm still thinking about game 1, actually. If you watch this series, you'll know that Percival was ahead. Percival, he was in a much better position in the first game. He was outplaying Björn, and then Percival, he had one big misstep. Björn caught him out of position. GG. Like Björn, he had a really impressive comeback in the first game. I'm thinking of Tourmaline as well, where Percival, he was turtling up. We were gearing up towards a longer game, but there was an opening in between his bases, and Björn just sent everything right through the center. Outpositioned Percival, one bad fight. GG, well played. I mean, that's TVT in a nutshell. Is TVT. Percival's mostly now losing only to Terran. I mean, you say that, but Clem just brought him down. I mean, yeah, Clem is one of the best Protoss players in the world, to be fair. It's true. But congratulations to Björn as he does become our champion this week. Shout out to Percival for coming in second place. Big shout out. As you can see here, Nice also went to the ace match against Percival. Really impressive play. Nice. He is also a retired player. But every now and then Nice competes, and we always appreciate it. Like Nice, he plays for fun nowadays. He plays for fun, shows up every now and then, and looks amazing in his own way. GG, well played. GG will play. That leads us to the RSL Season 3. We were alluding to this previously when talking about the Esports Awards. We were talking about how Tasteless was unavailable for the majority of the playoffs because he was in Vegas, so he was receiving his award at the time, so he wasn't here for the entirety of the playoffs. But I do recommend the VODs. We, of course, did cast all of the playoffs on our channel. We co-streamed the event, and there is a lot to discuss. We had some amazing games, by the way. First, we had the upper bracket quarterfinals. Hero took down Zound 3-1. Rainer took down Classic 3-2. Maru took down Shin, and MaxFax took down Trigger. Now, coming into this tournament, I was really curious to see the state of play and the form of Maru. I said this at the time, and I'll say it again. Maru has had a really lackluster 2025. Really disappointing, I would go that far, 2025, where Maru, he hasn't really been in form. During the off-season, he wasn't playing a lot, and he was really rusty. Björn confirmed this. Björn, he did say during the off-season, in the first couple of months of the year, that, Maru, he just wasn't really playing much StarCraft. He was taking a big break, and because of that, when Maru competed in the first, 4 months of the year, he was having some really, really rocky results. I think he lost to Lancer, right? Lancer beat him, and some other like lower tier players were beating Maru as well. Like Maru, he was struggling. He was struggling at the start of the year. That led into GSL. It led into GSL, led into DreamHack Dallas, where the meta was shifting in a certain way, and Maru, he was becoming very predictable. If you remember, Maru, he was doing two things in TVZ. He was playing mech or A-Raxing. To be fair, that was the meta, but like that's all he was doing. Like it was either meching it up or A-Raxing time and time again. And when it comes to TVP at the time, because of the meta as well, Maru, he was doing non-stop 2-base all-ins, just non-stop 2-base all-ins, and because of that, his games were very predictable. His games were very one note. And for example, in TVP, if the all-in failed, he would just lose, and that happened quite often. And because of his play, because of his predictability in TVZ, that led into his lackluster performance at GSL. Now he did have really good results at DreamHack Dallas. He won the event, but I would still say that I was disappointed in his play. I think that at that time, players were still kind of figuring out how he was playing, and that's why right after that event, he got knocked out of GSL. Solar had a really smart series against him, where Solar, he went for a really strong roach timing, and he hard countered Maru's mech, and he also was able to hard counter Maru's 8 racks on Tokamak, I believe. It was crazy. It was some really crisp timings, and Solar just shut him down. And again, Maru, he like unfortunately that was the case for most of the year. Like he was just playing only certain styles and only certain ways, and he wasn't really getting too many good results. And that led into EWC, where the same thing happened there as well. Now, what I loved about this tournament, and I do recommend checking out the VODs of RSL, is that the meta has changed currently in such a way where mech is less viable because of the nerf to the Cyclone. So mech is less viable. 8 racks is less viable as well in TVZ because of the buff to the Baneling. So these styles that Maru has been relying upon the entire year, which I've been personally really disappointed by, are no longer as viable as they once were. And I was really curious. I was like, is Maru going to stick with it and struggle, or is he going to mix things up? And he did. He mixed it up, and I was so happy. Maru, he was so much more active, so much more aggressive, going for more standard play, more earlier timings, 2x Reaper, 3x, 3x follow-ups, 3x stim timings. Maru, he was very active, very aggressive, going for proxies. More importantly, really diverse play. So if you're a fan of Maru, if you're kind of like me, where you've been really disappointed by Maru this year and really, I would say almost bored by his play, this was such a big switch up, such a big change, and like he had some really entertaining games against Shin, against MaxPax, against Hero, especially against Shin in the rematch. So I do recommend those VODs if you are interested. I would say that Maru right now is looking better than he has the entire year. Better than DreamHack Dallas, better than EWC. Maybe better isn't the best word, but more entertaining. Just more entertaining, and now you know it's better. He's looking very informed. He's looking very informed, very exciting games, and Maru didn't win the tournament in the end, but did make for some amazing series against all of his opponents, especially against Hero in the upper bracket finals and in the grand finals. Like he had an amazing performance. Upper bracket finals went all the way to the ace match in best of 7. In the rematch grand finals went all the way to the ace match as well in a best of 7, and in the rematch all the way to the ace match as well. Like we got the most amount of games we could have between Maru and Hero, and every game was a blast. Like there was no dull moments between Hero and Maru. So I do recommend it if you enjoy TVP, if you enjoy high octane, hyper aggression TVP, and even some more macro play at times as well. I do recommend tuning into their matches, the upper bracket finals and the grand finals as well. It was beautiful. Focusing on some of the other players here, MaxPax, I was surprised he played. I believe this is the first RSL he competed in, and I wasn't sure he would be allowed to. From my understanding, he was not allowed to play in previous RSLs because it led into, one, webcams are required, and because it leads into an offline finals. But they let MaxPax play. He did not have webcams, obviously, and he was never going to show up at the offline events, but they let him play anyway. So it was interesting to see MaxPax. He was allowed to compete. With that, he was able to face off against the best players in the world. Did go down tomorrow, did go down to Classic in the rematch as well. Talking a little bit about MaxPax. MaxPax's PvP is a little bit lackluster. For a long time, MaxPax had the best PvP in the world. I'm thinking of 2023, 2024, straight up. Like MaxPax, you'd always introduce him as having the best PvP in the world, but that has changed. That has changed with the last 2 patches. MaxPax's greedy play is now more risky. It's now more vulnerable because of the change to the shield battery. because of the removal of shield battery overcharge, we have seen MaxFax punished a lot more in PvP. That's why you see that back and forth between MaxFax and Hero. Previously, MaxFax had the clear lead and the clear advantage and was favored against every other Protoss in the world. Not anymore. Not anymore. So his PvP is a lot more lackluster. And what's disappointing to me about MaxFax's current form is that I want to say like a couple of weeks ago, he was mixing things up. He was going for proxies. He was going for 2 gate openers. He was no longer going for gate, cyber, Stargate, expand. Like that had stopped for like a decent chunk of time. He stopped going for that, but now he's back. Now he's back to just going for the same opener every time, and it does feel too predictable at this level of play. Yeah, like because of that, players like Hero, players like Classic, players like Showtime have been punishing him. They have been punishing MaxPax. So yeah, we'll see if MaxPax does decide to switch up his PvP. I mean, he still went all the way to the ace match, but it's just he is less dominant than he once was, and he's more vulnerable, and it feels like he's still playing into that as well. When it comes to Raynor, I will say that he has some of the best ZVZ in the world, but Shin stepped up, and Shin did bring him down. He had a very intense, very chaotic, very aggressive ZVZ against Raynor. There was a lot of mind games, a lot of early timings, a lot of all-ins that we saw players going for early roach pushes, muta play, cutting workers, making workers. In the end, Raynor was caught with his pants down one too many times. There were moments where Raynor believed he was safe, he would drone, and then bam, Shin would show up with a strong roach timing with an all-in and catch Raynor with his pants down. It was a really intense ZVZ, and Shin did come out on top, so GG well played. I think there was a late game ZVZ in the mix as well. I think there was one late game ZVZ that went the distance, but for the most part, Shin does claim the series. 3-2 did knock Raynor out, and likewise Shin took down Classic, also in an aggressive manner. ZVP has been more aggressive as of late. We've seen more 3-base all-ins, less late game, so that's where players like Shin and Solar have been excelling. As of late. But in the end, Maru took down Shin, and then we had that rematch in the finals. Again, Hero beat Maru in the first best of 7, Maru beat Hero in the next best of 7, and then they had a best of 3 rematch in the finals. Did barely go the way of Hero. Again, very entertaining series. I do recommend the VODs. It's a lot of fun. It was beautiful. Some of the best PvT out there. So congratulations to Hero for becoming this season's RSL champion, and that means we have 3 Protoss players confirmed for the offline event. Is there a chance that we get pure Protoss in the offline event? It's possible. So for those that are curious, Classic qualified from Season 1, Zhang qualified from Season 2, and Hero qualified from Season 3. So we have 3 Protoss players confirmed. And remember, the RSL offline event in Korea is a 4-player tournament. There's enough room for one more player, and there is going to be an offline qualifiers. There's going to be an offline qualifiers on the 13th of December to determine the final player to join the other top Protoss players. And we know that Raynor's going to be there. I'm sure Maru's going to be there as well. So Raynor, Maru, Shin, Solar, all the Koreans should be there. And Raynor is in South Korea, so he'll be able to compete as well. Is there a chance that that someone like Creator joins them? I think the Creator has a good chance, to be honest. I think the Creator, he has a good chance to join them. I would say that most likely it's going to be Maru. I think that Maru, his form, really impressed, and I think he's going to be the favorite to make through the qualifier. So it'll be 3 Protoss and Maru. It'd be Classic Hero, Zhang, and Maru. That is my prediction. But there's a chance that Solar could upset and bring Maru down. Raynor could bring him down. Shin could bring him down. Like, there's definitely Trigger is also going to be competing. The level of play in the qualifier is going to be insanely high. And even though Maru's favored, there are definitely players who can bring him down. Like, we've seen Bjorn defeat Maru in TVT. True. Bjorn, Cure. Actually, I would say that maybe the best way to bring Maru down is going to be TVT. Like, Bjorn and Cure and Bunny and Ryung, I can see it. I can see Ryung beating Maru in TVT. True. Like, I feel like TVT might be the way to stop Maru, and depending on the brackets, he could go down in that matchup. But we'll see. Best of luck to everyone involved. It's going to be a crazy qualifier. Crazy, puppy, crazy. Meanwhile, that leads us into the Wardy TV Korean Royale Season 4. This event, I believe, did conclude. I think last time we were working through most of Group A. most of Group A, and looks like we have some results coming in. Just double checking here, and yeah, I think that we're getting into the final stages of Group A. So we had Solar. Solo took down Percival 2-1. Solo took down Down 2-1, and Cure took down Solo 2-1 in the finals. In the end, Group A has concluded. We do have Solar coming out in first place, Raynor in second, Nightmare in third. Hold on, did Nightmare beat Raynor? Raynor, he lost to Zown. He lost to Percival. Oh, true. We were hyping up Percival earlier. Okay. But we have Raynor and Nightmare making it through. Zana and Cure also making it through as well, being seeded further into the bracket. Group B is still underway. Group B is still underway. It looks like we're still missing some matches as well. Only a couple though. We're missing Beyond versus Hero and Beyond versus Classic. So a couple of matches are still remaining. For the most part, we kind of have our confirmed players. Like Classic is excelling, Hero is excelling, Creator's excelling, Shin as well. But depending on Beyond's matches, like some of these series could still be shifted up and down. So I don't think we have a confirmed date for this, but we should be getting these matches soon. Yeah, we should be getting these matches soon, and the playoffs will be underway as well. Playoffs are scheduled to begin in 2 days, so I hope that Beyond's matches can be played soon, maybe via replays, casted via replays, to wrap up the group stage and to lead into the playoffs. The playoffs are scheduled to conclude by the end of the month, so this weekend should be the playoffs, as long as there aren't any delays in regards to the group stage. So unfortunately, it looks like scheduling has been a little bit awkward, but there have just been so many games played out throughout the course of the group stage, so it can be hard to schedule sometimes. Gumiho is going to be knocked out, and again, the final standings have still yet to be confirmed. When it comes to who I favor coming into the final event, Solar has been very in form. I do favor Solar right now in ZVP, and there's a lot of Protoss, to be honest. There's a lot of Protoss in this tournament. Fun fact, who beat Solar in the group stage? Cure. You know, Cure beats Solar. I favor Cure. I favor Beyond if they face off against Solar. But there's only going to be 2 Terrans. Or Beyond might not even make it. If Beyond loses his games, he might not even make it to the playoffs. So with less Terran and with more Zerg and Protoss in this bracket, I can see Solar excelling. And I can see Solar winning as well, right? Like in the group stage, Solar, he beat Raynor. He beat Zown. He beat everyone except for Cure. Cure was the only one to stop him. So if I think if Cure faces Solar in the rematch, if Cure makes it that far, I think Cure beats Solar and maybe wins the entire tournament. But it kind of depends on the bracket. Yeah, I think it depends. I think if Cure makes it to face off against Solar, I think Cure makes it to the finals. If that doesn't happen, I think Solar wins the entire tournament. If Cure makes it to the finals, I do favor some of the other players. Like I can see Raynor beating Cure. I can see Hero and Classic beating Cure as well. Like I do think that some of the other Protoss and Zerg players are favored against Cure. But I do favor Cure against Solar, and I think I favor Solar against everyone else, except for maybe Hero. It's hard to say. Like Solar, he's gonna be favored. Hero is gonna be favored. Classic potentially as well. It's a hard one to call. It's gonna be a lot of fun. A lot of good matches. Do recommend it. It's gonna be casted by Wardy, of course, over the weekend. So do check it out over said weekend. A lot of matches, a lot of StarCraft. Wish the best to everyone. And depending on who gets seeded into where, like again, like I can see Hero excelling, Classic excelling. But it's going to be a lot of fun matches, and it's always fun to see Raynor against the foreigners. Always a lot of fun. Even if he doesn't beat them, even if he doesn't make it to the finals, seeing him against some of these other top players is always a treat, always exciting. Best of luck to Raynor. Best of luck. That foreigner versus Korean dynamic is always a treat. Always, Papi, always. Meanwhile, that leads us into the Wardy TV 2025 qualifiers. Interesting. Let's quickly double check here. Bonus qualifier. What? It looks like there's going to be an end of year event. Let me just double check here.
Yes, there are, I believe, 4 qualifier and a bonus qualifier, but the bonus qualifier was played first, so there you go.
Lovely. But yes, this is an end of year tournament that Wardy's been Wardy is getting ready. We already have some players seeded in from previous tournaments. So Classic is already seeded in. Classic, Max Pack, Showtime, and Clem, they're already seeded into the tournaments. And then we had the first qualifier. I guess we'll go into the bonus qualifier first. So first we had the bonus qualifier. Here we had Solar. Solar takes down Perceive. Is that not Percival? Okay. Solo takes down Perceive 2-0. Solo takes down Nickerack 2-0, and Solo qualifies. Shameless takes down Milky Cow. Shameless takes down Lelix. Even though this is a bonus qualifier, it looks like there wasn't really a lot of notice about the event, and we're missing a lot of players. So low signups. Solo and Shameless qualify for the main event. Congratulations. Congratulations to Solar. Congratulations to Shameless. They both do qualify. That leads us into the first Award TV qualifier. Quickly checking, are there any restrictions? No. No restrictions here. No regional restrictions is what I mean. Once again, we have two qualified players. Trigger takes down Milky Cow, takes down Geralt, and takes down Rogue in the qualifying match. That is exciting. Este Trigger. Big win here for Trigger. Takes down Rogue and qualifies for the main event. Congratulations. Then we have Percival. He takes down Lemon 2-1. Did drop a map. Takes down Ubu Thermal, and takes down Creator in the qualifying match as well. Big win here for Percival. Lemon did make him bleed, so shout out to Lemon, but the only player as he does 2-0 Creator in the qualifying match. GG, well played. Congratulations, Percival is going to be part of the event. Then we have the second qualifier. Here in the second qualifier, we had Cure. He takes down Wingit, takes down Baby Marine, and takes down Uwu Thermal to qualify. Thermal took down Geralt in the process. Big win there for Thermal. Takes down Lelix as well. I'm pretty sure Thermal he just made videos about this. I did notice, I think it was today, he released a video where he's like, I cheesed and made Protoss. He had like the clickbait for the thumbnail. Hold on. I'll look it up. It's he's got a
Was that the one with
title.
Marines only?
Yeah, I think so. Hold on.
Okay.
Thermal OSC2. I didn't watch it, but I did see the title for it. Yeah, I cheesed every single game in a $5,000 qualifier. Yep, this is the qualifier he's talking about. Just Mass Marine. Just he's got thumbs up. God damn it. And there's another one as well. I entered a $20,000 qualifier to cheese Korean Pros. That was for a different event. But I'm pretty sure Thermal, he's already made content about his series against Lelix and against Geralt. I hope they feel good about that. But Thermal is out there making content. Did lose to Cure, but hey, content was made. So you can check out those VODs over on Thermal's channel. Meanwhile, Rogue, he does take down SOS in the final qualifying match. So we do have Cure and Rogue confirmed for the main event. So far we have 5 Protoss. We have Classic, Max Pack, Showtime, and Trigger. We've got 3 Terran with Clem, Percival, and Cure. And we've got 2 Zerg with Rogue and Solar. And also we have Shameless as well. And there's 2 qualifiers left. I hope that the qualifiers get spread around, because I feel like the signups have been lackluster. Where are the Vitality players, for example? Where's someone like Maru? Where's Zhao, right? Where's Ryung? Like, the Vitality players have not been... I mean, they've been traveling, right? True. I think it was released recently, and we probably should have spoken about that. But I think the Vitality players have been traveling, so they've not been available to compete in these qualifiers. That is a bit of a shame. They've been not able to compete. Bjorn hasn't been available for these qualifiers either. Hero, true. Where's Hero? He wasn't playing in these qualifiers. I feel like, we're missing a lot of Koreans and Europeans as well from these qualifiers. So hopefully they're notified and hopefully they can play, because this is a big event. It's a $5,000 tournament. Would be a shame if we didn't have the best players in the world involved. So hopefully they're notified and hopefully they're made aware and hopefully they're able to be part of this to make for a better tournament. So best of luck to Wardy, to promoting the event, and hopefully the final 2 qualifiers do get more signups. Fingers crossed, Pappy. Fingers crossed. But again, the event is scheduled to begin in December 6th. So again, early December, and it's going to be running the entire month. We won't get into the format or anything like that yet. It's a little bit too early. Once we get confirmation of the players, then we'll be getting into the main event itself. But again, it's a $5,000 tournament, and again, it's going to be a big event. I wish the best to all the players, and again, hope we're able to get even more top players involved in the tournament. I also just realized, actually, never mind. I was concerned that we have to rely on qualifiers, but they're going to be 10 invited players, so don't worry. If certain players like Hero don't even play in the qualifier, I'm sure they're going to be invited. It's a bit of a shame that we have to rely on invites, but they're going to be 10 invited players. Whoever doesn't show up, they're probably going to receive an invite. Wardy's probably going to ping him. He will most likely ping them. But with that, GG. With that, GG, well played. With that, I hope you all enjoyed yourselves. That is going to be our final results here of the week. Again, this is a weekly talk show, weekly really more of a wrap-up show, weekly wrap-up show of all things StarCraft. There was a lot that we did discuss this week in regards to Serral's game analysis, in regards to the GLHF interview with Soso, in regards to all the tournament results this week, and of course, if you want to take part in some of these tournaments in the qualifiers as well, you can do so via the sign-up list. Exclamation mark sign-ups in the chat. There is a sign-up list where it does have a countdown timer to all these events, to all the challenge pages for open cups, for qualifiers. If there are any restrictions, it is listed there as well, like regional restrictions or MMR restrictions as well. It is all listed there to make sure you're aware of what you're stepping into, and of course the countdown timer and all the related links involved as well. So again, do check out the sign-up list. It is available to you. What is around the corner here in regards to the sign-up list? Let's have a look ourselves. Let's quickly have a look. We have the Sunrise Cup in 2 days' time. We have the Platinum StarCraft II League November edition. I believe Rotterdam is going to be covering that event. We will not be covering it, but Roddy's going to be on that. We have the 5.4K patch clash. We have the Water TV Mondays. We have the Tuna Cup November finals this weekend. We have Monday night weeklies. We have more qualifiers, more Pickerstar Cups, KSL next week, and many more events. Even the StarCraft Evolution League number 17 event in 2 weeks' time. So again, there's plenty of tournaments that are available for sign up. So if you want to take part in these events, do check out the sign up list. It is a list that we make ourselves, that Kuro does invest a lot of time into, and a lot of pro players use this list to be made aware of what is coming up. So the sign-up list is available. Meanwhile, if you want to support us here on the CranKy Ducklings, you do so via Patreon. Exclamation mark Patreon in the chat. Our Patreon does fund our tournaments on a monthly basis. Again, we do have events like Sea Duckling Open, Master Swan Open, and Sparkling Tuna Cup. We have regular tournaments every single week and every single month, and the Patreon does fund those events. Heads up, our next Tuna Cup, we didn't have an Open Cup this week, but we do have the monthly finals next week. We do have the monthly finals right around the corner. Actually, we should quickly check that. I don't know why we didn't, but if we head on over here to Wikipedia, we have the Sparkling Tuna Cup monthly finals. We have the November finals, I should say, and we have our confirmed players. We have our top players involved. We have, I feel like the bracket should be made soon, by the way, but we have Nightmare, Beyond, Skilless, Cristiano, Classic, Percival, and Shameless. When it comes to the main event, I believe Solar did let us know that Solar would not be involved. I think that the Solar is unavailable, unfortunately. I believe it is going to be clashing with, because this weekend, I believe it's clashing with Wardy's tournaments with the Korean Royale. Right, with the Korean Royale, I believe it's going to be clashing, so bear that in mind. So Solar, unfortunately, even though he does get seeded in as first place, I believe he will not be a part of this month's Sparkling Tuna Cup, but all the other players will be involved. So again, we have the best players in the Tuna Cup that will be taking part and taking place in this single elimination bracket. That'll be this weekend. So get hype and get ready for some high-level StarCraft. So again, if you want to support our tournaments, if you want to help us run these monthly tournaments on a regular basis, you can do so via Patreon. The reason why we have monthly finals for the end of this year is because of a very generous donation in the chat. We got $2,000 as a donation, and that is being put to use in these monthly finals. We got $2,000, and we have 4 $500 finals. So September, October, November, December. 4 months of monthly finals. That's where that money has gone to, and we're able to host these monthly finals and support these players as a result. But it's only until the end of the year. Coming into 2026, it is all just reliant on Patreon. So if you want to help support us and help us run these monthly finals coming into next year, then Patreon is the place to be. Otherwise, thank you. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for tuning in. A big shout out to Kuro for handling the production side of things and for making sure everything runs as smoothly as possible. Big shout out to Kuro. And again, this is a weekly talk show or weekly wrap-up show. Every single week we have the PondCast. We've been running it for a very, very long time, by the way. So if you haven't tuned in before, if you were not aware, where have you been, Pappy? Where have you been? Again, we were running this show for years at this point, but it was usually on a more irregular basis. This year, though, every week we do have a PondCast without fail. And when it comes to the rest of our schedule here, quickly catching up, Tomorrow we're going to be live at Kung Fu Cup. We got Kung Fu Cup tomorrow and over the weekend. We have the Tuna Cup monthly finals, of course, on the 30th of November. We have the Pegasus Cup. We have the Platinum StarCraft League finals throughout the course of December. We have KSL, SC Evo, and much more StarCraft on the horizon. Plenty of content, plenty of StarCraft. We're live every single day. We're live more often than any other channel out there. We cast more StarCraft than Wardy, more StarCraft than Steadfast. We have the quantity, and we have a little bit of the quality as well. Sleep is something that I cannot afford, but we sleep very little. But you know what? It's fine. It's worth it. It's all for the game. It's all for StarCraft. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys in around 12 hours ish time with Kung Fu Cup. That's going to be tomorrow morning. So do tune in as we go over the Kung Fu Cup monthly finals of November throughout the course of the week, starting tomorrow. With that, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to tune into more myself, I do stream every now and then. I actually just raided. I was just live for like an hour. I'll be honest, I don't really get to stream too often anymore. Because we cast so much, I have very, very little like mental capacity to actually ladder. It takes a lot to ladder, and usually I'm casting, and the problem is that if I ladder before a cast, I'm usually mentally drained for the cast, and the cast is worse as a result. Or after a cast, I'm mentally drained because I just casted. So I find it really hard to like find time to stream and find time to ladder, but every now and then I'm able to do so. So do check me out over on my personal channel. I'll try to ladder a little bit more. I want to. I enjoy it. It's just hard finding the time to do so. So I'll try to get around to that. Sometimes we stream some other games like Final Fantasy 14, Final Fantasy 16, Spider-Man 2, just some other single-player games or some other games every now and then. I do stream on my personal channel. Again, if I ever have the free time to do so. It's rare, but sometimes we get to stream. Check me out there. Likewise, Kuro does handle the production side of things, and likewise also does stream from time to time as well. So you can check us out on our personal channels. Otherwise, !socials in the chat. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, all things CranKy Ducklings. We upload VODs on YouTube on a daily basis. So if you want some content, if you want some StarCraft, if you cannot watch it live, check us out on YouTube. We've been streaming, we've been casting on a daily basis since 2020. Oh boy, for many, many years at this point. We started streaming back in 2017, but that was more of on an irregular basis, but we have been full-time ever since COVID. Ever since COVID, we've been full-time, so a lot of content, a lot of StarCraft, a lot of VODs are out there, a lot of experience, and do check it all out over on YouTube. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. Stick around. We're going to be giving another StarCraft streamer a raid. Who is live at the moment? Usually we raid, like, sort of is usually live at this time, but he was live earlier this morning, so I don't think he's around. We'll find someone. I see Snake Styles is live. Bratok is laddering. Let's go. Bratok. We'll find someone. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for some Kung Fu Cup, or we'll see you when we see you. See you next time. Ciao. Papi, ciao. See you next time. Hasta luego.